1107. The purpose of this resolution, or the need for it, came out of my discussions with the Department of Economic Development and the Department of Transportation. I put in a resolution called HR 866. That was a resolution to create a study committee to evaluate the need for Georgia to potentially look at a space commission. Much like other space states like Florida, Texas, Virginia, they have some type of space commission or authority that has some type of oversight activity, and some of them are regulatory boards. Some of them are just absolutely focused on economic development and recruitment of the commercial space industry into Georgia. As many of you know, we have a pretty great opportunity down in Camden County where we have the potential to have a spaceport come online in the next year. We are going to get some information from the Federal Aviation Administration very soon in terms of our environmental impact study. That will be known, that draft statement will be known in about a week and a half. And so we're going to get some information very soon on that. But the purpose of HR 866 was to evaluate that need if we needed to do that. So based on the feedback that I got from Economic Development and Department of Transportation, they tell me that they have the resources they need to focus efforts to recruit the commercial space industry in Georgia. You will see a letter from the Georgia Space Alliance. It's a very small group, but Georgia has about 9 pure space companies, not aviation-wise, but pure commercial space-connected companies in Georgia. And they basically are represented by the Georgia Space Alliance. And so when you read that letter, it basically states that the Department of Economic Development, why they may have the infrastructure in place and we may not need a space commission. What is known in this industry is that our commercial space presence and focus on recruiting that part of the industry is not heightened. It's not there the way it needs to be. And the reason why I bring HR 1107 is to urge the Department of Economic Development and the Georgia Department of Transportation and any other relevant agency that has a need to participate and actively recruit the commercial space industry to improve the lives of Georgians and improve the state of Georgia in general is to go out and recruit that industry here. Now, I'll bring you to the resolution. The first stanza there, 1 through 5, that's basically what it says. It asks them to focus their efforts, to make a commitment to bring that industry to Georgia. Also, at line 11, you'll see that the commercial space industry has a $330 billion economic impact annually. And so these activities are happening all over the globe. The United States of America continues to be one of the best places for the commercial space industry to launch their payloads up into space. They want to come to the United States because America is still friendly, very friendly to this industry. And so what they know is that they need another East Coast location in the United States for strictly commercial space launches, and that's where Camden County comes in. That's where the state of Georgia comes in. So this is basically the last location on the East Coast of the United States to push something like this. So that means big opportunities for the state of Georgia. Georgia Tech has the #2 aerospace engineering program in the country. Most of those folks end up leaving the state of Georgia and they go elsewhere. They go to Silicon Valley, they go to California, they go where the jobs are. So what we're trying to do is sort of direct the Department of Economic Development and focus them on recruiting those jobs for Georgia because we have those infrastructure ingredients in place. And one of those is that we are ranked 3rd in the country on aerospace attractiveness for manufacturing. That's on line 17. And so we have all these ingredients here. And so the question I asked the Department of Economic Development is, so what's the missing ingredient as to why we're not bringing in the commercial space industry? What's that focus? What are we missing? Is it a space commission? Florida has one, Texas has one. I don't know what the answer to that is. That was the point of the study committee on HR 866. But what I do find from talking to my space guys, this industry, the Georgia Space Alliance, is there's a question of whether or not does the Department of Economic Development have the resources to go out and recruit. But the Department of Economic tells me that they do. They tell me they have those resources. So if that is the case, then let's focus, let's commit ourselves, let's recruit and enhance what we have. If we do not need a space commission, to be competitive with Florida or Texas, then let's enhance our structure that we have already here in Georgia. And so that is the point of the resolution, and I will stand for any questions that anyone may have.
First of all, I want to commend you for your proactive approach to it. I think it's a situation when you sit and you look at your numbers as to what the aerospace industry is doing in the state of Georgia anyway, and then the possibility of economic development being more involved. I think it's a wide open field, and thank you for that. Number 22. Should be. Try it again.
Hello? Okay. So I also want to say thank you for bringing this. You've really been, leading on this issue, and it's going to be, huge for Georgia, not just now, but for years to come. And, when the time is right, I want to make a motion that we do pass.
Well, since we have no other questions, I think the time's right. Would you like to make your motion?
Do pass. Motion that do pass.
Okay, we have a motion to do pass. We have a second. We have a second. Members of the committee, what's your favor? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I thank you very much.
Resolution running real fast, but
That's right. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Chairman Shaw, you have something, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did you bring olive oil for the committee this morning?
I can do that later.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Good morning. Hope y'all had a great weekend and a good holiday. I bring to you today House Bill 843. 8 LC number is 430829. This bill deals with supporting our military bases that we all have talked a lot about that, and I'm glad Chairman Belton is here today, who's led the charge on the study committee of the supporting our military bases. And this is another military-friendly bill, but it's also an economic development bill, and it's also a very good bill for our rural communities. And we've talked a lot about that in the Rural Development Council, what we can do to help these rural communities. As you know, nearly all of our communities that house military bases have a footprint in a rural part of our state. So what this bill would do simply would be we have military zones currently, and to qualify, you've got to meet all of the guidelines such as the poverty level and so forth. But what this would do is help those communities I referred to by allowing the census tracts in those counties where they house a military base that has at least 5,000 personnel, so our larger bases. The census tracts where those industrial parks lie in those counties would automatically qualify for that military zone status. So that would give them a little additional job tax credits to help lure industries to those parks. Those parks have to be government-owned parks, like Development Authority parks, like most of our industrial parks are. I don't know. I'm sure there's things I don't know, obviously, but I think most of our industrial parks are government or authority-owned. But that's what it would do. It would give those additional job tax credits, kind of like a Tier 1 type status in just those census tracts alone. So to help recruit industry, obviously, around a military base, defense-related industries would be a prime target. And obviously, anytime we can lure a defense-related industry that's attached to a base, it obviously is a win-win. It helps us protect that base as well as help that, in this case, that rural community. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
I think it's a great thing. One of the residuals of this, like you said, is protects the base, but also people retiring out of those bases gives them new job opportunities too.
That's correct.
It's a good thing. Any comments or questions from the committee? I think it's a great bill. Proper time, I'll entertain a motion to pass it.
Make a motion.
Have a motion, have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chairman, you have your bill. Thank you for bringing it.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. And we have something extremely interesting right now. We're going to get to see a presentation. If I can find the agenda here. Now, most of you all know a lot of transactions are processed in the state of Georgia. we have, Wes Richards, who's the Executive Director of the American Transaction Processors Coalition with us today, and, he's gonna kind of update us, about where we are, and, well, Jay, appreciate you bringing him in today, and we're gonna let him go, and then we're gonna all go to room. So, Wes, the floor is yours, sir.
All right, thank you.
Look at y'all.
Yep.
Try that.
Is that better? Oh.
Whoa.
Well, Mr. Chairman, thanks for inviting me to give you an update on the ATPC, the payments industry, and an upcoming international conference that's going to be hosted here in Atlanta this fall. Just as a refresher, Atlanta is the capital of payments on the planet. Because of that, we formed our own trade association, the American Transaction Processors Coalition, which represents Transaction Alley and all the companies that have locations not only across the U.S. but globally. In October, we're going to be hosting what's called the P20 conference. The P20 is a conference sponsored by the ATPC. It brings together the top 20 thought leaders in the payments industry, together with legislators and regulators in the United Kingdom and the United States. The P20 concept is to bring together all those folks to help shape the regulatory frameworks of the future, starting with cooperation between the United Kingdom and the United States, but leading by example, impacting regulatory frameworks across the world. We launched our first conference in London, the payments capital of Europe, arguably the financial capital of the planet. We did that last October. We hosted the conference just down the street from Buckingham Palace at Lancaster House. We had Treasury Secretary Jack Lew speak. We had his counterpart in the United Kingdom speak. It was a conference intended to form the P20 itself. It was a great conference. You're going to see a movie about it. It's 4 minutes long. It's great. Produced by CBS News 46. But this coming October, the conference is going to rotate to Atlanta. It's going to put Atlanta and Georgia on the world stage of financial services like never before. We will be having dignitaries attend, such as former Prime Minister David Cameron, the U.S. Treasury Secretary, folks from the Federal Reserve. It's going to be a who's who conference. It's going to be small. It's only going to be maybe 200 people. We're working on issues like cybersecurity, cooperation, financial inclusion, innovation, and regulatory issues. So it's a think tank that's producing recommendations on a global scale. So anyway, I'm going to play the movie now. The movie does a much better job of explaining what we're doing than I did. Yeah. Yeah, October 9th and 10th. There'll be a private dinner on the 8th. It will be hosted at the Atlanta History Center. It's a closed meeting. Sure. We will absolutely need representation from both the House and the Senate. It's called the P20. Sort of like the G20, but it's the payments 20. All right.
The payments industry affects people on every continent, across every The pay
It worked a second ago. We tested it like 4 times.
Oh, okay.
payments industry affects people on every continent, across every The payments industry affects people on every continent, across every culture and walk of life. How we send and receive payments is an ever-evolving challenge that depends on the leading minds in the payments industry and on our regulators and legislators. That is the essence of the P20. I'm Will Frampton reporting from London, where Payments 20, or P20 for short, launched in October of 2017. It was a convention featuring some of the biggest and most influential names in the industry. But it's the work they're doing together apart from this event that will help set the course of how we make payments affordable, secure, and accessible for all. It is a mission with global implications stemming from a first-of-its-kind partnership between 2 nations, the United States and United Kingdom, with Atlanta leading the way in payment processing and London in financial services, ensuring that people everywhere have the power to make payments.
That's really a big piece of the mission. Being able to make safe and secure payments allows people to move commerce in such a way where they can participate in the financial system. And right now, billions of people do not currently have that ability to do that.
H. West Richards, director of the American Transaction Processors Coalition in Atlanta, along with Robert Green and Eileen Nebbit, spent 18 months building P20. The organization attracted the top leaders, regulators, legislators, and innovators in the payments industry, culminating with the inaugural P20 Summit at Lancaster House in the heart of London. Bruce Lothers, president of payments at FIS, was integral in helping pave the way for the landmark event.
What we were trying to do is get alignment on the major issues of regulation, cybersecurity, financial inclusion. And when we look at those topics, what we really tried to do was line up action items against each of those to drive forward.
With Lothers, the chairman of the P20, helping guide the mission, the group held its first board meeting in London. And from that meeting came key points on which the board will focus: cybersecurity, regulation, innovation, and financial inclusion.
This is part of the big problem that we're trying to conquer, is making payments more accessible and affordable for the people who don't yet have access to the payment grid.
Because unless we can show that P20 is making a real difference in improving the aspects of regulation, etc., then really P20 should not exist. It's got to show demonstrable progress. I want to
P20 leaders like Peter Radcliffe, along with other delegates, emerged from the inaugural summit prepared to take action. Because for all of the innovation happening in the payments industry, much of it depends on collaboration with our policymakers at the state and federal levels. Now, in 2018, this is where the talk stops and the work begins.
This isn't a talking shop. This is action for the good of everybody.
Getting UK government and the US government aligned.
The P20 is designed to create a payments regulatory environment that is safe, predictable, and affordable and available to everybody all over the world.
Well, we have the brightest minds in fintech, not just in London and the US, but around the world.
Other governments will follow our lead. They will.
This is the first chapter, this is the first meeting, and it's the beginning of the journey.
In October of 2018, it's on to Atlanta, where this group of leaders will again gather to report on the progress made from this movement. The expectations are high to show proven results and to ensure the P20 continues to grow into the global force as first envisioned by its founders. Reporting from London, I'm Will Frampton for P20.
Great program, a great presentation. So, yes, ma'am.
Are you going to be bringing anyone from Augusta and our cybersecurity center, since you're going to be talking about cybersecurity? Because I think that would really kind of highlight Georgia and some of the assets that we have here. And then the other question is, you know, will you be bringing anyone like from Bitcoin? And because that's, you know, seems like they're doing a lot of leading edge futuristic stuff that I think would add value to your conference.
The simple answer is yes and yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so good idea.
I think it's a great program. First of all, I want to tell you how much we appreciate you guys picking Atlanta, picking the state of Georgia. It's a great thing. Looking forward to it. Sounds like it's the first of its type. It's to bring it together. It's obviously something that's huge for us and huge for economic development in the state. And I want to thank you for your presentation, and you know, we'll give you any support that we can.
Well, let me be the first to invite you, Mr. Chairman, to attend.
I'll be there. So thank y'all. Wes, do you have anything else, or are you good?
Just one little side note. I see Representative Price here. Secretary Price is basically the political founder of our organization. So a lot of our inspiration to start the American Transaction Processors Coalition was due to his support back in 2013.
Well, Secretary Price has set a record for a lot of really good things, and his better half is doing the same thing in the legislature. So we're proud of both of them. So thank y'all.
All right. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have one other quick thing before we adjourn. Due to the incompetence of the guy that was chairing the first meeting, who would be me, I forgot to approve the rules for this committee. None of the rules have changed since last year, so I'll entertain a motion so that we can be on record. Have a motion. Do we have a second? Have a second. All in favor say aye. Great. Well, thank y'all for making it this morning, fighting the traffic in. And what is this? Do what now? Oh, okay, you do that. I'm going to call on the chairman to do the most important thing here. Up.
You have something in your calendar, in your package, just save the date, put it in your calendar for a committee day. That's all.
Great. So, being no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Move second. We're adjourned. Thank you.